If you're anything like me, planning your overarching D&D story comes pretty easily. What's not so easy is planning the episode by episode by episode and kind of what happens when confined into those areas. You might have planned, hey, party's gonna come into town, they're gonna meet the barkeep, they're gonna find out some people have gone missing, and then track down some low-level henchmen, kind of fight them, and then ultimately find out where the boss's secret location is inside a town. But it's usually not that simple. And what was supposed to be a single episode has now turned into an overarching narrative that takes place over the course of an entire month instead of the single episode that you had originally planned for. So what do you do in these situations? Give up. You'll never be good enough. You're a horrible DM. Look at me, look at me. Say it with me. You're a horrible DM, your players hate you, and you will never get better. Not quite, but sometimes it can feel like that. Well, I'm here to tell you about some best practices to kind of fit all of your ideas into your given episode, and even what the DM's guide says to help you avoid situations like that in the future. Oh hey, didn't see you there. And hey, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, you're gonna roll all nat ones at your next D&D session, and you don't want that, I don't want that, and your fellow teammates don't want that. So, best get and subscribe it. I'm just kidding, I love you guys. On page 8 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, it actually lays this out super well. For every real life hour that you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you should be able to plan on being able to do maybe 3 given things. These things are labeled as explore a location, converse with an intelligent creature, reach a consensus, solve a tricky puzzle, survive a deadly trap, or fight a low-level combat encounter. More difficult ones you could count as even 2 or 3 things. We've all had those sessions where we spent like an hour to 2 hours on one single combat that was not the BBEG. So you may be asking, how do you apply this to your game? Let's go back to that session example I gave earlier. Arrive at town. That's thing 1, is just arriving and exploring. Find the tavern. That's thing number 2. Exploration to find this given place, which we all know can fail. Your players could get sidetracked or distracted. It's just the nature of the game. Talk to the barkeep. That's thing 3. And if we're being honest, we've all been guilty of talking to an NPC way longer than we should have for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, even an hour sometimes. And that can definitely eat up time, so make sure you're always accounting for it when you're playing with your player. Get the information about the missing people. This could be thing 3, but it could also be a 4th one, depending on if you have to persuade him to give you information. 5 is going to be to actually track down the henchmen. 6 being that you actually have the combat encounter with them. And then 7 would be to get the information out of them, whether through negotiation or searching their hideout. And with all that, you haven't even met the boss yet. That's 2.5 hours of gameplay. And that's assuming that they follow exactly what you wanted to do. To be honest, that rarely ever happens. In reality, for most people, your session looks a lot like this. Thing 1, arrive to town. Thing 2, debate for too long about where to go. Thing 3, search for the tavern and maybe fail. Boom! 1 hour turns into 3 things. And the problem wasn't the players, it's your planning of your things. So the problem you're probably asking, so what is it? Is it me? Am I a bad DM, Mr. YouTube guy? Am I the bad DM here? Well, if you really want to know the answer.
Yes, absolutely. You are the problem. There is no coming back from this. You are a bad DM. Now say it with me.
I'm a bad DM. My players hate me. Things will never get better. Of course, that's not true. You're a good DM. And the fact that you're watching videos to try to become better should speak to what a good DM you are. I think the 3 things per hour is still tremendous advice and has helped me in so many of my episodes, one-shots and more, to just kind of figure out the actual points I need to hit within my story versus what might be fluff and what my party can realistically get through in a given episode. So I want to build off of that and give you 3 more tips that are going to help you plan out your sessions much better so that we're not ending the episode in the middle of something important. Mixing around the haze, it's gonna make the video look way cooler. You've probably heard this before, but you're not writing a novel or a fantasy book. So just plan in blocks, or I've heard it referred to as notes. Within your, call it 3-hour session, just plan 9 things. For example, instead of writing on and on about how you want them to get to the tavern and what it looks like and all that, try your prep in these bullet points instead. Number 1 would be the tavern, with 2 being the barkeep who might have, say, rumor A, and then there's a shady patron in the back of the tavern who has rumor B. Then, as your 4th thing, the players get to decide which rumor they want to take and follow that lead. Your fifth thing would be an encounter with maybe like 3 or 4 low-level thugs, depending on your party size, with 6 being a new location, which is perhaps the entrance to a sewer, or maybe even a building of some kind. Then you have to figure out how to get in, let your rogue finally do some lockpicking. 7th would be either a riddle or a puzzle to get into the sewers or building, or maybe it's just finding the key on the guard. Where 8th you might label as discovery, the actual looking for of the keys, or even picking the lock or doing whatever. With the 9th being actually opening the door to this building or pulling up the grate from the sewers and looking inside. And there you go. That's 9 things right there. They miss Thorin or choose to ignore his rumor, cool, they have the bar keep. If they can't pick the lock, they can find the keys on the thugs. You have options, that's the point. And now you've prepared 3 hours of content, not a 3-act play. Tip number 2. As I said earlier, an encounter with enemies could be 1, 2, or even 3 things. So what determines what's 1 thing versus 2 or 3? 1 thing might be a simple conversation with somebody, or even a low-stakes combat encounter, like with your 3 thugs, where 2 things might be a more complex negotiation, or maybe those thugs have been skilled up a little bit, that they're gonna hit a little bit harder. And what would take 3 things? That's probably gonna be your whole boss fight. Because you gotta remember that your player's gonna come in, there's probably gonna be some witty banter back and forth, the actual fight itself, and the aftermath. If your boss has any dialogue that you want to have afterwards, a final death conversation like in Assassin's Creed. I'm dying, let me give you a bunch of valuable information. I never really know why they did that in Assassin's Creed, but that's beside the point. And really, any divvying up of loot that comes from it. And that's a full hour right there. So make sure that you're budgeting out how large of an encounter you might have. And then the 3rd tip, plan for what's called an off-ramp. That's basically spots in the story that you can end on a strong note, either a cliffhanger or just not in the middle of combat, for example. The last thing anyone wants in the middle of a game is to be deep in a conversation with an NPC and then all of a sudden, guys, our time is up, I gotta head to bed. Got work in the morning. You also don't want like 15 minutes left on your clock and you're introducing brand new things to the story that ultimately they're not gonna find out about until next week. Consider if those types of things are worth saving for the next episode. And listen, I'm gonna be the first to tell you, I'm guilty of introducing new things with only a few minutes left on the clock. None of us are perfect. And if you look at our list, we had 2 or 3 good stopping points. Look at point 4, for example, where you're deciding which rumor to follow. Although you may have wanted to get further in your story, if your party got sidetracked and went to other locations, maybe wanted to go shopping or just check out the town, this might be an excellent point to end off on. After your players have decided which rumor to follow, hey, end it there. With that, you've got the mystery of still what's to come. Or even end it right as they encounter the thugs. The whole point of this tip is to make sure that you have a more satisfying end and that you're not just sitting there like, yeah, well, I guess we just end it here then? See you guys next week. So in conclusion, don't worry about putting a whole movie plot into your D&D session. Remember, number 1, the golden rule. 3 things can be done in 1 hour. Number 2, have an encounter budget. Know how long things are going to take. If you need to get something, but you're worried about combat taking so long, maybe make those enemies not so strong. Not every encounter has to have your players almost near death. And plan your session in blocks, not such a rigid story, and have off-ramps in case you've got to end things at a certain point to know the best spots to end it. And that's it. And hey, if you follow any similar rules in your own prep, please let me know. Or if you even have any recommendations, leave it down in the comments. And if this video helped you out, please consider subscribing and liking this video. And remember, you're a good DM. Your players like you. I'll see you guys in the next one.